And we are live. Hey, welcome. My name's Luke. I will be your teacher for this English lesson. We're also going to be doing an English Q&A. So welcome to my home, my studio, my home studio. Today we're going to be talking about some English learning tips. I'm going to be giving you some interesting ideas for how you can think about your English learning practice, how you can actually apply it, what's important, what's not important. We'll be talking about a few other things as well, and I'll be answering, as I usually do, as I always do, your questions. So if you didn't make it this time, don't worry about it. It's okay. You can make it next time, but make sure you ask good questions if you are here. Good questions are the fuel that feeds the fire of English language learning live classes. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like or thumbs up button. Make sure you follow or subscribe wherever you happen to be watching. And don't forget to check out the links in the description if you're interested in improving your spoken English in a much more in-depth and orderly way. I have currently 11 courses that will help you in different areas of your English, whether it's grammar, pronunciation, thinking in English, and so on. These are quite popular courses. In fact, 2 of the courses recently hit 2,000 reviews. Not 2,000 students. No. 2,000 reviews. So, for example, the pronunciation course has over 2,000 reviews with an average score of 4.65, which is good for the platform it's on. So a lot of students are enjoying that. It's actually very affordable. If you're serious about improving your English, I would recommend checking out that course or any of the other ones as well. I have quite a few good ones. All right, now before we really get into it, I have to do some housekeeping. I have to, number one, I have to make sure that we are streaming successfully, which I believe that we are on Facebook and YouTube, which are the most important, I think. And also, I need to quickly, if you don't mind, just swap out. I need to update one of these and send our link in so that people know, hey, ho, ho, hee, hee, ha, ha, we're live. All right, so let me just quickly swap out the picture and then we'll get started. I beg you for your patience. I need your patience. Lolly Lolly's here, Richard's here, that's good to see. People showing up, people coming in, that's great. Fantastic. Awesome. Okay, all right. Are we good now? Are we good now? Oh, one more small thing. Hold on a second. Good. Glad it's working, guys. I have some interesting stuff I want to share with you today. I'm excited for that, definitely. And we'll just wait for a few more minutes while more people are coming into the stream. All right. By the way, now this is just a sort of a by the way, a real by the way, because if you're not interested in this, then fine. That's totally fine. But I just want to mention it. If you like these live streams and you either want to review them later or you sometimes miss them and you're kind of sad that you missed, but you don't want to watch the whole thing, which may be sometimes often longer than an hour, you can subscribe to the other channel. This channel is completely a highlights channel. The highlights channel, I basically will take the answers to questions and put them there in case you want to watch them later. It's a good way to review in a sort of short way. There's that question that they were talking about different word differences. Yeah, where was that? But you feel tired to try to scrub through the whole thing and find it. So what I do is I will cut the questions into pieces and post them one per day in the highlights channel, which is called English Lessons by Cloud English, I think. And you can find that in the related channels on my homepage here on YouTube. So if you go to that page and you click on that, you can subscribe to that, and then every day you'll get one question. It's a good way to review if you have seen this, and if you haven't and you missed it, it's a good way to make sure you're caught up and improving your English a little bit every single day. So that's good. All right, let me just pop this into the old WhatsApp group. We have a WhatsApp group. It's top secret. It's a top secret WhatsApp group. All right, KC Master is here. Hi guys, have no fear, I have returned. Well, thank God. We can't really start until KC Master is here. That's my go sign. That's how I know I can go. That's how I know I can really start. Otherwise, we're just waiting around, waiting for KC Master to show up. Very important. Richard says your content is always riveting. Enjoy watching your live streams. Wow, riveting. That's a pretty strong word. It's a very strong word. But I'll take it. I'll take it. Riveting is, I couldn't ask for a better adjective than that. It's one of my favorite adjectives. That's my 15th favorite adjective. If you want to know what the other 14 are, then fax me at my fax number, and I'll fax you back. And then you can fax me the request, and then I'll fax you back with my favorite 14 adjectives. First, you got to find my fax number. If you want to find my fax number, you have to fax my secretary. She doesn't have a fax machine. That's going to be a problem. It's going to be hard. Sameh says, hello, Sameh from Egypt. I want to know the usage of such and such as. Okay. And I apologize if I am a little sniffly. I'm a little sniffly because it's allergy season. And I'm a sniffly person during allergy season. But you should see me during the autumn. So I usually have some form of seasonal allergies, whether it's the springtime or the autumn, late summer, autumn. But springtime is not so bad. Get a little sniffliness going on here. Might need to blow my nose once or twice during our live lesson here. But during the autumn, I'm out. Unless I have very powerful medicine, I'm totally out. Mentally gone. There's so much congestion in my head, I can't think clearly. It's like there's a haze in front of my eyes. I can't breathe like this all the time. It's constantly blowing my nose. A mountain of tissues as tall as Mount Everest beside me that I'm adding to, and 50 rolls of toilet paper or tissues over here to the right, and it's a horrible thing. Sneezing, oh, it's bad. But I have found in the last couple of years some pretty good medicine. The one I use, I think it's called Nasonex. Anyway, it's a spray, and you spray it up your nose once a day, and it actually is pretty effective in relieving the symptoms of seasonal allergies. I found that to be pretty effective. I feel like right now I don't need it so much. I'm okay most days, but in the autumn, I'm gonna need it. Otherwise, I won't be able to make any videos. I won't be able to do anything. One time, it was so bad one time that I get really, I'll turn my notifications here on my iPad off. I get really fuzzy-headed and forgetful. One time I left my wife's, this was a couple years ago, brand new iPhone 7, back when it was new, on the seat of a taxi. And she had to just buy a new one. Just because I left it there. I just put it on the seat and totally forgot about it. Because my head was in such a fuzz. Because I couldn't think straight. Imran Imu says, are you using Shure SM7B mic? Yes, sir. Yeah, I like it. My old mic, I was using another mic before, the blue mics, which I like, but it it's rattled sometimes, and it was hard to mount, and just kind of inconvenient to use. So I was looking around. What are the best mics? There's a really good one by Rode, makes a pretty good mic. And then there's this one, but this one I just kept seeing the reviews of this mic really, really high. I've seen, different YouTube channels and podcasts. People tend to have this one, and I thought, why is that? Well, there's one key reason, I think, and it's that you want to have something that is easy to move around. If you need to move like that, you have your keyboard. You need it to move around easily without being a big pop filter that blocks your face. The cool thing about this mic is that the pop filter is the thing that blocks the pops, more or less. It's inside instead of being this big screen in front of your face, which I like. That's what I really like about it. That's the main reason. And it has some shock features as well. So if the table shakes, you don't get this really loud sound. If I hit the table, you hear it, but it's not nearly as much as it would be if I were using some other mic without this big suspension, these big suspension things that like bands that are attached to it. I find it just looks a little silly. It's cleaner. It's easier to just sort of move it out of the way. And I've got this arm thing that I really, really like. So it's a good setup. But I wouldn't recommend it to anyone unless you make your living using the equipment, because it's pretty expensive. But if it's your job, right? My job is, one of my jobs is making content, making courses. My job. So yeah, it's an easy thing to say. Yeah, well, of course. But if you were starting a podcast as a hobby, and you weren't sure if you were going to make money with it, and you were just doing it kind of for fun, I wouldn't recommend it because it's too expensive. I think it's too expensive for a hobbyist. Does that make sense? Is that reasonable? Yeah. Anyway, we have a lot of questions coming in from Luba, who is here, and MJ, who is here. Richard, hey, do you think nowadays people are fixated in terms of buying good mics? Because my friend just bought a new Beats by Dr. Dre for 250 euros. Beats by Dr. Dre makes a mic? I know they make headphones, but I didn't know that they make a mic. Look, I think for microphones, if you need one, you need one. If you don't need one, then how do I want to say that? If you need one, if you really need one, you know it. You know it, because life is painful. Life sucks if you don't have the right setup. Setup is extremely important. People who don't make content, I think, don't realize it. Because when, let's say you're me, okay, and I'm going to film this is a look behind the scenes, all right? I'm going to film a course. Now, I've spent 2 months writing this whole course, 15 hours of content. Now I need to film the whole thing. Now, I sit down in my studio, got all the lights set up. If my lights are powered by batteries, then that's a thing that I have to think about. I have to think about, are they all charged? I have to charge the lights. I have to put the batteries in, which ones are charged, and there's a thing over there I have to charge. Okay, so that's one thing I have to think about. Number 2, what's my recording setup? Is it easy to record, or do I have many steps before I can record? SD card in the camera, plug that in, make sure that has a battery, make sure that's plugged into that. Then I have to do a screencast of the Blackboard, and then there's an audio track. I have to make sure that. So okay, there are a lot of steps. When there are 15 steps, lights, background, all of that stuff to think about every time you walk into the studio to record. And it's not, you don't record a course in one day, at least I don't. My longest course took me a month and a half just to record it, right? If you have all that to think about, it's very easy to say, ugh, God, not today. You know what? I just watched some YouTube videos. It's easy to get lazy. And so I've realized it's extremely important if you're interested in doing podcasting regularly, or you're interested in making courses, or you want to start a YouTube channel. The most important thing is to make sure you have a setup that is fluid, where you can just sit down and push go. And that's not easy to get up. It takes a lot of work to get it set up, but you have to get it set up so that you can sit down and press go. All of your lights are plugged in, no batteries. Your camera is plugged in, no batteries. You're using the right software so that you can just press go, right? I'm using software that allows me to broadcast to Facebook and YouTube and Twitch at the same time, right? And I'm able to see comments from everybody. Word Love Gal just said, "You look like Zac Efron." I disagree. I'm fatter than Zac Efron, and he's more handsome and more muscular. But thank you. What game is in the N64? Super Mario 64. That's what game is in there. Good question. So that's something that people don't think about. That is part of the life of a person who makes content. And if you guys ever want to start your own channel, if you ever want to start making content, making courses based on something that you know, I would encourage you to do it. But talk to me first. I have a lot of experience in setting this stuff up, and so I might be able to share some tips with you so that you can avoid some of the pain that I went through. Sorry, I gotta blow my nose a little bit. Richard says, "Hey Luke, I've watched your recent video about Joe Exotic and enjoyed it a lot. Do you think he will ever get pardoned, or is it very likely just binged watch Tiger King was very engrossing?" Yes, so I don't think Joe Exotic will be pardoned unless he's in jail for paying someone to murder Carol Baskin. And that's illegal, to pay someone to murder someone, even if they don't do it. Right? So if you pay someone to murder someone and they say, I don't feel like it, I'm going to spend this money on pizza. The person who took your money didn't do anything illegal, actually. They just tricked you. They just lied to you. But the person who paid you to kill someone, they did something illegal. As far as I know, I think that's how it works. So anyway, he's in jail for that for 20 years and 22 years. And the only way that you could get pardoned, probably, or get a lower prison sentence would be if you provided information on other people doing illegal activity. If you gave information to people who, on people who had done worse things than you. There's a bigger fish in the sea, and you're able to give details about their illegal behavior. This is what everyone was doing during the trial and the investigation around Russia. There was people would say, "Oh, yes, I know I did something bad, but I know something about what another person did that's bad," right? So I don't think he has that. If he does, then maybe he will get a lighter sentence. Please explain the difference between used to and be used to, especially get used to. Okay. Okay, that's a pretty good question. Why don't we start with that one? Why don't we start with... And guys, if I don't get to all the questions every time, you just have to come back and try again next time. Because I also have other things I want to talk about, and we can't always get to every question, but I'll do my best. So, wow, tough one to say. Motaba Rayani. Motaba Rayani says, please explain about the difference between used to, be used to, and especially get used to. Okay. When we say be used to, we can say to be used to something, to to want to be used to something, we could also say, I am used to something. I am used to it. I am. She is. We could replace it with is, am, are. Okay, we are used to it. Okay. For example, we are, my wife and I, are used to being in quarantine in our houses. Well, being isolated in our houses. We are used to it. We've been doing it for over a month now. We are used to it. Now, what does that mean exactly? To be used to something. It means that we have adjusted to it so that now we are comfortable with it. Now it's not a big deal. We've been doing it for so long that it's sort of like, meh. But now, if it was driving you crazy and you couldn't stand it, then you wouldn't say that. Maybe you've adjusted to it physically, right? But that doesn't mean that you've adjusted to it in terms of feeling good with it. In which case you would say, I've been in lockdown for over a month and I'm still not used to it. I just can't get used to staying in my house all the time. I can't get used to it. I can't get used to it. Now, notice the pronunciation there. I'm not saying used to it. I'm saying used to it. It's there, but it's kind of not there. And we're putting those two things together. Okay? So that's the main way that we use used to. Used to. I'm used to it. We're used to it. And when we say get used to, we're talking about the same kind of thing, but it's just a little bit of a different focus. We might talk about a possibility when we use get. For example, I think that after a while, you'll get used to it. You'll get used to it after a while. So, for example, someone has maybe started a job where they have to drive 2 hours to work and 2 hours back, 4 hours. Whew, seems like a pretty long commute. This commute is killing me. I don't know if I can keep this job. This is my dream job, but I've got a 2-hour commute. I either have to buy a new house closer or quit. I don't know what to do. You know what? Just keep driving to work. Keep doing it. Find something to listen to on the way and on the way back, podcasts, whatever. I think you'll get used to it. I think you'll get used to it. Okay? So get used to it is talking about the possibility, right? Talking about that kind of thing. Whereas if it's true now, you could say yes, you could say I got used to it. I got used to it. But that's talking about the transition from not being used to it to being used to it. That's the transition, right? The transition from not to being. When we just say I am used to it. We are used to it. She is used to it. He is used to it. But the moment or the time we move from not to yes, we say get. I got used to it. I wish I could get used to it. I'd like to get used to it. You will get used to it. And after you get used to it, you will be used to it. Okay, so the difference there is one is the transition and one is the state. One is the condition. Okay. Now, what about used to? Used to. We used to do something. This is slightly different, right? For example, we used to go to Flushing every weekend to get delicious Chinese food. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean Flushing is a neighborhood in Queens, near where I live. Take a bus, 15 minutes, Flushing, amazing Chinese food. Authentic, delicious. You take a bus, you enjoy some Chinese food, do it every weekend. It's great. Sounds awesome. Sounds like heaven to me. We used to do that every weekend. But now we're in lockdown. We can't. So when we say we used to do something, that is very importantly different from we are used to it. Get used to, are used to. We have that verb in front of it to say that this is our condition. But used to do something, we don't have that verb in front of it. We're not talking about our condition. We're talking about events in the past that were regular and ongoing that have now stopped. At some point in the past, they stopped. It was a regular activity before. So we used to do that. She used to do that. To mean this was a regular activity in the past that we no longer do. And it stopped for some reason. We used to go to Flushing every weekend to get Chinese food, but now we can't because we're on lockdown. Maybe we will in the future, right? And now we are used to not going to Flushing. We are used to it. That means we are accustomed to it. We are adjusted to that situation, okay? So two different meanings of this basic phrase. Very useful. Both very common. You have to know the difference between them. You have to feel comfortable with the difference between them. Hopefully that's clear. All right, if you haven't already, guys, make sure you hit the thumbs up or hit the like button. That lets the algorithms out there know, hey, live class happening. Check it out. Also, make sure you follow or subscribe so that you can see when we're doing these in the future. And don't forget to check out my courses in the links in the description. Okay. Wow, we have some people watching on Twitch today. That's cool. Sensenjen, that's cool. I didn't know if anybody was going to watch on Twitch. Totally new channel on Twitch. If you're on Twitch and you want to support the channel, I think that you can use, if you're on Amazon Prime, then you can subscribe to me on Amazon Prime, and I think that's one way to support the channel, but I don't know that much about it, to be honest. Hey, Luke, what's it? Oh, wow. Richard really wants me to answer this question, and Richard gets upset later if I don't answer, so let me try my best. And then, Richard, I want to talk about something that I want to talk about. All right. Hey, Luke, what's the difference between grasp, to get, and to catch? Are they both used in the same manner to denote that someone understands something, or does it also have a slight nuance of meaning? Okay. Well, yeah, they are pretty much the same. To grasp, to get, and to catch. All right. Yeah, I think there are some slight differences we could talk about here. So Richard says, hey, Luke, what's the difference between to grasp, comma, to get, and to catch? Are they both used in the same manner to denote that someone understands something, or does it also have a slight nuance of meaning? Wow. All right, so grasp. We use this to talk about getting something with your hand. That's the basic meaning of grasp, right? Get is a very general thing, means I now have something that I didn't have before. And catch means something was flying in the air and I get it, right? So in some situations, we could use these in exactly the same way. If someone doesn't understand something, we might say, I'm not quite sure I grasp what you're saying. I didn't catch what you said, or I didn't quite get what you said. All right. Now, this is interesting because there are really three layers to this. There's get, which covers both pretty well. And then there's grasp, and there's catch, which are generally speaking different. Let's talk about the differences. So, if you catch something is flying in the air, and you got it in your hand, right? So if someone has explained something to me, or told me something, or announced something, or whatever, and I don't, imagine it's a ball, right? And it goes, flies past my head, then I wasn't paying attention. I didn't lift my hand up to grab the ball, so I didn't catch it. So there, our focus is on hearing. It's not that we're not smart enough or not capable. It's just that I was too busy playing a game on my phone, and you said something to me, and I didn't do that. So I wasn't listening, basically, is the meaning, right? So then I say, I'm sorry, I didn't catch you. Could you say that again? Right? Now, would we say it in the positive way? I think I caught what you were trying to say. Well, actually, not very often. It's more often used in the negative to say, I didn't quite catch that. meaning I missed some details as though it were a ball flying past me, and I need you to repeat the information so that I can make sure that I get it, so that maybe I can take action or we can continue the conversation. All right, now, that's generally how we use catch. Just remember that, catching the ball, right? It flies past you, you didn't hear it, you weren't paying attention, or you catch it, you were. But it's usually used in the negative. On the other side, then, we have grasp, to grab something. Now, something that we grasp, we wouldn't grasp a ball flying through the air. No. Something is on the table. You grasp the cup. Actually, I would usually say grab the cup, but you could say grasp. To grasp something is to close your hand around it. So how do we use this one when we're talking about something being explained? Knowledge. This is not about missing details. This is not about not hearing someone. This is about hearing someone, listening, and not fully understanding what was explained, what was said. Now, is it because I'm too stupid to understand it and I'm just incapable? Or is it because you're poor at explaining things? Or is it because maybe it's not my area of expertise and I need it explained in a different way that's closer to how I would understand things? It could be either one of those. Okay? So we would use it in the positive sense. I'm struggling to grasp your point. Now, that could be a way to say, you're not being clear, dude. You're not being very clear in what you're trying to say. Or it could be just, for whatever reason, we have a disconnect and I wish I understood, but I don't really understand. I'm not sure I totally grasp your point. Do you think you could make an example for me? Right? Or, I think I grasp what you're trying to say, but if it were me, I would give this example. So in that case, I understand what you're trying to say, but maybe the three people around me don't quite grasp it, don't quite understand it, right? And in that case, I might make a different example. I grasp what you're trying to say. I understand what you're trying to say. I get what you're trying to say. But I think that might be hard for us designers to understand. So let me make a slightly different example to make it clear to everybody. So then I do that, and everyone says, "Oh," and everyone understands, right? Do you grasp it, guys? Yeah, good. All right, so that's grasp. Not about missing the details because I wasn't listening, but because I didn't understand, or miscommunication, or poor explanation. And then catch is about paying attention. All right. In the middle, we have get. And get could be either one. Get works for both. I wasn't paying attention because I'm playing a game on my phone, and you say something, and I say, sorry, I didn't get you. Can you say that again? I wasn't paying attention. I didn't get you. Can you say that again? Or you've explained something. I'm listening carefully. I'm listening very carefully, but I don't quite understand because you're using a lot of complicated words. And then I would say, I'm sorry, I didn't quite get you. Could you say it one more time, very slowly? Or I might say, I'm sorry, I didn't quite get it. I don't have to say you. I could say I didn't quite get, or I didn't, meaning I didn't understand what you said, or I could use it in the present tense. I don't quite get it. To not get something now means I don't quite understand what we're talking about. Not only what you said, but generally speaking, this idea that we're trying to explore. I don't quite get it. If we do understand it, though, we can say, I get you. I get you. I get it. I get it. I get it. Now I get it. I was confused before. I couldn't grasp it before, but now I get it. Okay, so get can be used for either one. Grasp is just about understanding, and catch is not about understanding, but is about attention. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. Hopefully I have answered your question to your satisfaction, Richard Burgess. If you haven't already, guys, I would deeply, genuinely appreciate if you could hit the like button or the thumbs up button, wherever you are. And also, if you wouldn't mind, If you like to see future live classes or videos or whatever, make sure you hit subscribe. If you're washing your hands, you can do it with your nose. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out my courses in the links in the description. Okay. Richard? Oh, good. Thank God. Okay. Oh, Osvaldo Barajas has a question. Hey, Mr. Luke, what's the difference between across and through? That's a good question, but the answer to that one is really simple, and I can answer it in 1 second. Well, a few seconds. Walk across the field. Move it across the table. Go through the trees. Go through the tunnel. So across is on a surface of some kind, going from one point on the surface to another point on the surface. However big the surface may be. It could be a plaza. It could be a field. It could be an entire desert. It could be a tabletop. Through means that there are things around and over. A tunnel. Trees. Right? That's the idea. We also use through, for example, for reading. Flip through some pages. Look through a magazine. Browse through some details on the internet. Okay, so through because we're in the internet. We're in the pages in a sort of mental way. That's a good question too, but easier to answer. All right. Hi, Amy C says, "Hey Luke, I am an American and I am American. Are these correct? Which is more common?" I think probably I am an American is more common. I think that one's a little bit more common. Both of them are okay. They're both correct. I am American. I am an American. I am an American is more common. It's different for different places, right? For example, I always find it weird when people say, I am a Chinese. That sounds a little bit odd to me when someone says, I am a Chinese. And I think it sounds more natural if someone says, I am Chinese. This sounds right to me. An American is more common than saying, I am American. I guess both are technically correct, but one is more common than the other. It's different for different countries in English, for whatever reason. I don't know the reason. Very hot and useful live. Wow, hot? I don't know what that means. What does that mean? What is a hot live stream? I've got all my clothes on. I'm not doing anything crazy. So what does it mean? All right. Now I want to talk about a little bit of something here. And then I will get back. I will definitely answer more questions. Don't worry. But I do want to talk about something. So, hot conversation. Oh, cool. Sorry, I got to blow my nose, guys. I deeply apologize for my allergies. So sorry. I know it's gross. But I need to do it. All right. So one of the questions that I get most from English language learners is, why is it that native English speakers are able to be lazy with their English, and yet I'm supposed to learn English seriously? Right? If I hear a native English speaker say, "I'ma do that. I'ma do that. I'ma do that." Why can't I just directly do that? Just start saying exactly as a native English speaker says. Why do I get corrected if I do something wrong? But when a native English speaker writes something incorrectly, either it's a typo or a deliberate incorrect thing, like a strange abbreviation, why is it that I can't just do that? Well, the answer is you can, but there is something different between the native speaker and yourself. And I think it's very important to focus on that for a second. Okay. There are a couple of quotes that I really like, and I want to share them with you and then talk about how they relate to this concept called the mountain. Okay, and this is a very important concept, a very important idea that I think everyone needs to realize when it comes to learning a language. The quotes are, I'll read them both. Learn the rules like a pro so that you can break them like an artist. This is Pablo Picasso. Learn the rules like a pro so that you can break them like an artist. The other one is by the Dalai Lama, which is know the rules well so that you can break them effectively. Basically the same thing. Now let's take that quote by Pablo Picasso. Picasso, a very famous artist, developed a style, a very unique style of painting called Cubism. And if you look at Cubist art, it's crazy. Crazy shapes. Things are all messed up. People's faces, people's noses are over there and their ears are over there. It's crazy. But somehow it works, and it really revolutionized many aspects of modern art. Now, why is Picasso saying this? Learn the rules like a pro so that you can break them like an artist. Well, if you know anything about Picasso, you know that he had another period of time in his art career called, I believe it's called the Blue Period. And in the Blue Period, his work is much more, let's say, normal, right? Much more like an artist, an actual painter, right? So what does that show? That shows that Picasso has mastered the fundamentals of color, composition, all of the things that you need, I don't even know, to be a good painter. And then has decided, now I'm going to develop a completely new idea with all of my knowledge and revolutionize art. That's what he did. This is true in many areas, not only for art. It's true in many areas. Rarely do you see someone who doesn't know what they're doing do something crazy and new and then revolutionize something. It's usually someone who's really good at it, and then they're so good that they can take the next step and make some innovation or do something new or crazy or different. This is the same idea when it comes to mastering a language. This is the same idea. This is why when people say, oh, why don't I just say I'm going to do that? This is why I say, no, don't just say I'm going to do that. You need to first feel very comfortable saying, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Or I will do that. And then once you feel or once you know that you know how to do that really well, then go ahead and do whatever you want. So why are we talking about a mountain then? So the idea of the mountain is that on one side of the mountain, you have this rocky terrain, boulders and roots and trees and everything in the way. It's a jungle. You have to hack through it, right? But on the other side of the mountain, there is a water slide that goes all the way down into a perfect, beautiful lake. Okay? Now, a native speaker of any language, really, gets this kind of for free. You learn that as your first language. It's automatic because you learn it as a child. It's a lot easier to learn, and you don't even think about learning it. It's kind of automatic. Everybody experiences that with their first language. So you're kind of born close to the top of the mountain, or we could say that you go up the mountain very quickly, kind of automatically. And then you slide down the water slide, which is relaxing, which is doing whatever you want, which is breaking the rules, which is not saying things correctly, which is using slang whenever you want to use slang, which is writing sentences that only have one word, which is whatever you want to do, basically. And when someone says, hey, you can't do that, well, what's the situation? You can't do that because maybe on this job application you made a mistake. Yeah, okay, maybe. But you can't do that to I want to express myself this way. Doesn't work. I know the rule. I know how to make a sentence. I know the right way, but I don't want to. I want to say it a different way. I know the rules, but I choose to break them. Is different than, I don't know the rules. I can barely make a sentence, and so I'm just going to do whatever I want. People can tell the difference. So that's why you have to first climb the mountain. You have to climb the mountain before you can slide down the other side. And I know people who have reached that level of English mastery, non-native English speakers who have reached that level, so that when they go down the other side and they use things casually and they are careless with their language, I can tell that they're doing so intentionally for the sake of communicating in a certain way or giving a certain feeling. And I can tell that they're not doing that because they just don't know. I can tell. I don't know exactly how I can tell, but I can tell. And I can also tell when people make all kinds of mistakes and say, well, it doesn't really matter. I can tell that that's there because you're not a native English speaker. You're not fluent in English enough to know what the right way is or to be able to do it, right? I can do it, but I choose not to is much better than I can't do it, right? So what you need to do is face the fact that you're on your way up the mountain, keep climbing the mountain, slash away the trees with your machete, have your walking stick, climb up, struggle, and all of these struggles will get you to a point of developing the right language habits, becoming fluent, knowing how to write, doing everything correctly, perfectly. You need to master it. Then, once you feel that you're really there, I know how to do everything. I know how to write a really good, perfect email, resume, text message if I want to. I know how to speak in front of others and use tenses correctly and grammar correctly. But I now choose to sometimes be lazy because I know the right way, right? That is totally, I think, acceptable. Slide down the water slide into the lake on the other side, by all means. But until then, you're probably not doing yourself any favors by stopping, saying, you know what, this is good enough. It's okay. You got to keep pushing, got to keep climbing. So hopefully that makes sense. And if you want to share your journey, your stage, where you are, what you're struggling with, please do so in the comments. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you check out my courses in the links in the description. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe or follow the channel as well. Okay. Okay. The building collapsed. Yeah, so where are you guys on the mountain? Get well soon. It's not like I'm deadly sick. It's just got a bit of allergies going on. Don't worry about it, guys. No big deal. Okay. Just checking to see if I missed any interesting questions here. The building collapsed or fell into smithereens. Not very common. Smithereens is really not a common word. Courseboy17 says, my unicorn is in therapy. Oh, that's so sad. That's so sad. For what, I would say? For what? Gulp versus swig. Gulp is the actual swallowing. And then swig is the drinking part. To take a swig, a big drink of something is to swig. Very casual. Whereas gulp is the actual swallowing action. And sip is a small one. Small. Angel says, hey, Luke, is it a must to use present perfect tense when we mention since? I rarely catch your live streams because of time difference, so I hope you would answer my question. Thanks. Okay, that's an interesting one. Please tell me more about flow in speaking English. Ooh, that's a pretty general question, but I can recommend, honestly, I do recommend a course called, it's called, maybe I can pop in a link here. Let me just pop in a quick link into the chat. Into the chat. Oh, wait, you're on Facebook. I can't do it. Anyway, the course is called English Fluency, How to Sound Like a Native Speaker. And in the course, the focus is not the pronunciation of specific words, but how to blend words, how to jump from one word to the next. That's the focus. Yeah. And so I would recommend that course. It's 3 hours long. But it's, I think, worth it. That one recently hit 1,000 reviews. So I now have, which I'm quite proud of, I have now 2 courses which have reached 2,000 reviews. Reviews means people have actually rated it 2,000 times. 2 have reached 2,000. 1 has reached 1,000. And the Master Native English course is about to reach 1,000, even though it's my newest course. So that one is growing very quickly. And right now, the pronunciation course is on sale. If you go to the links and you click on that one, or you can go to my website as well, and you can put in the discount code 2000. If you put in the discount code 2000, you can get a full discount. And that will be pretty inexpensive, and I think definitely worth the price. So if you are serious about your pronunciation, those 2 courses, American English Pronunciation and English Fluency, those 2 courses will get you a lot closer. There are a lot of the basics there. One of them focuses on the sounds of words. The other focuses on the flow between words, the tone, the stress, question tone, blending, jumping, all of that stuff to make it smooth, to make everything you say flow. So they cover both aspects. That's sort of the foundation of pronunciation. And I would strongly, truly recommend both of those courses without hesitation. And they're, I think, very affordable. Each course is 3 hours long. So totally 6 hours. It's a good investment in yourself. I take courses too, investing in myself as well. Please, what's your WhatsApp group? Does someone want to pop that into the chat? Could someone help me out with popping that into the chat? Oh my God. My dear wife is in the chat. See? She's not lolly lolly. That's the first time that's ever happened. Hey, Mushroom. The heck am I watching my live stream for? Get out of here. No, you're welcome to join. What's the difference between understatement and euphemism? That one's a tough one. We might get back to that one, lolly lolly. That one's a tough one. We'll try to get back to that one. So actually, what I wanted to do is answer Angel's question, and then I want to, a couple weeks ago, last week, 2 weeks ago, we did a story time. I want to do another story time, if that's okay with you. Story time. All right. So let's talk about Angel's question. I need to think about it first for a second. Since. Can we only use in the present perfect tense? Okay. Okay. I think I can answer this question without doing too much research. So Angel Poon, great name, says, "Hi Luke, is it a must to use present perfect tense when we mention since? I rarely catch your live streams because of the time difference. I hope you would answer my question." It is a good question. And we should first talk about what she means by present perfect tense before we say anything else, right? So present perfect tense is where we use have or has plus it's called a past participle. You don't have to know what that means, which is, for example, been, done, seen, gone, right? And sometimes we do it with ing. If we want to do an ing one, we would say, for example, I have been living, right? We use been. Been is our past participle, and then we use ing. That's called the present perfect continuous tense. Not to be confused with the past perfect tense. Different, okay? So present perfect. All right. So let's use the ing. Let's say she has been working there since. Now, what should we say? Should we say since 4 years? No. If we want to say the duration, then we'll use for, right? For 6 years, whatever it is, okay? That's the duration, and that's fine. She has been working there for 6 years. Duration, the amount of time that's passed, okay? Now, if we want to use since, we're talking about the beginning point. That's what since means. Since means beginning point, okay? And usually, when we talk about since, we're talking about something that is true up to the present. It's also true up to now, okay? So it's a continuing thing. So, for example, she has been working there since 2014. She has been working there since 2014. So since focuses on our point in time that things began, and then everything has continued along since then until the present. We don't have to say dates or times or years when we use since. We could also say since my birthday. I've been feeling a little sick since my birthday, right? Could be today. I've been feeling like I have a stuffy nose since yesterday. Means it started yesterday and it is continuing now. Okay? I've had a stuffy nose since yesterday. Okay. That is also, by the way, the present perfect tense. I have had. Okay. Same idea. So we don't have to use the ing form there. Okay. Now the question is, can it be used for example, simple past? Like I walked, it stopped, right? And the answer is yes, but we're talking about specific things that happened, events in the past. And up to the present, no more than that number happened. So for example, we could say, if we want to use present perfect tense, we would say, there have been 3 wars in the Middle East, for example, since 2001. That's our beginning point, present perfect tense, and we're saying the number, right? We could, though, say 3 wars happened there since 2001. We could say, for example, I think the number is something like 21,000. 21, 22, I don't know the recent numbers. 21,000 people, let's say, have died from the recent pandemic. 21,000 people have died from the recent pandemic in New York City alone. That means up to the present date. Since, and then we say the start date, January, or whatever it is. Okay? Now, we could just say, since January, 21,000 people passed away. And that's okay. So we can use a simple past tense for that, okay? Now, this is totally different than the other meaning of since, right? Well, since you mentioned it, maybe I should say something about that. Since you mentioned it, that is a different meaning of since. But we can use the simple past tense to talk about events that happened at a beginning, from a beginning point, between that beginning point and now, if those are specific events. The people passing away, actions that happened, events that happened, things that occurred, wars that happen, right? And usually it is present perfect tense or present perfect continuous tense. But we can also use the simple past. It's okay. It's okay. So hopefully that makes sense, Angel. Hopefully that answers your question. And if you haven't already, guys, I would deeply, genuinely appreciate if you could hit the like button with your nose. Bring your phone to your nose, hit the like button or the thumbs up button. Make sure you also follow and subscribe. And if you haven't already, please do check out my courses in the links in the description. All right. Yep, she has been working there since 2014. Good. That's right. Oh, wait, that's what I said. Do I give a certificate for the course? Yes, all of those courses have certificates, correct. All of those courses are correct. Okay. So, actually, I wanted to do, yeah, sure, you're welcome. You're welcome, Angel. You're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. My pleasure. Happy to help. I was hoping to do a kind of story time. Please add more previews about your recent course in Udemy. There are. Each course has a preview. And I think the first lesson of each course is available as well. Can't do more than that. Is it fine to speak English in your own accent? I think so. I don't have any requirements. I have no, I think sometimes, because sometimes I have people they'll send me a message and they'll say, I'm so sorry if Amy says, another question, let's go swimming, let's go to swim. Let's go swimming. Let's go swimming is better. Let's go plus gerund activity. We would say, I want to swim. That would be okay. So I have people sometimes send me, when they message me the first time, they might say something like, please forgive me if I have any typos, right? Please, I apologize if, I say something that's wrong. Now, I mentioned the mountain thing. So I do think everyone should try to continue getting better, right? So that's on one level. For yourself, you should always try to get better before you decide to break the rules. But I don't care, personally. I have no requirements of you as a person and how you speak English. I think people mix that up sometimes and assume things because I'm an English teacher. They assume then that if I don't hear, if good English doesn't enter my ears, then I feel upset. That is not true at all. I enjoy listening to different accents, communicating with people who have very low levels of English fluency, right? I enjoy all of that. I have zero requirements of you and in relation to your spoken English. If you don't want to improve your English and you speak with me in extremely broken English and only know 100 words and we try to have a conversation, I will probably enjoy that conversation even more than you do, right? If you have a very strong accent that you don't like and you want to change it, I think that's great. Try to change it. Wonderful. You should. If you want to change it, but I don't care if you change it. So then what's my role? Well, I'm just hopefully a tool to help you get closer to whatever goals you happen to have. If you want to improve your English pronunciation and sound more natural when you're speaking, here's a course. Take it. But if you don't want to do that, then don't take the course, right? If you need suggestions on how to improve different aspects of your written or spoken English, and you want to have little suggestions every day or once a week, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Watch my videos. If you don't have those goals, then don't do that. I don't care. It's totally fine. So whatever your goals are, you should work toward those. So if you feel I have a very strong accent that I don't want to have, and people judge me in a way that I don't like at work, and sometimes they don't understand what I've said at work, and that bothers me, and it affects me negatively, I want to change, then I would say to you, okay, you should change. You should do what you need to do to improve that, because it affects you and your own life, right? But I'm not telling you that you should do that. I will help you get there if you need it. I'll be more than happy to help. Helping you is my business model, right? But you have to set your own goals. You have to know what you want. If someone tells me, I want to sound like an American, I think, okay, if you want to, you can try to do that. That's great. If you want to do that. But if you want to just speak naturally and you still have your own accent, and it's obvious that you come from this country because you have that accent, but you don't make any mistakes, I think that's fantastic, right? In fact, personally speaking, I do think it's sometimes a little strange if someone tries to put on an American accent and doesn't do it perfectly. It sounds a little awkward, like trying too hard. So I think there's absolutely no issue with having your own accent or having distinct characteristics from where you come from in your pronunciation. Now, if that prevents people from understanding you, okay, maybe we can work on that, right? Or if you make so many mistakes that it's not clear if you're talking about the past or the future, maybe we can work on that. So I'm here to help. You have to set your goals. You have to know what you want. You have to know what you don't want. And I think that's important to keep in mind, right? The goals are your own and the efforts are your own. That's another issue that I come across often. People sometimes come to me like I'm an auto repair mechanic. They drive into the shop and they just say, fix me, right? That doesn't work like that. I can't fix you. You have to fix yourself. Your effort has to be your own, and I can provide the framework, the ideas, the structure, the insights, the knowledge. I can provide things for you, and then you have to take it, use it, fit it onto yourself. It's more like a personal trainer than it is an auto mechanic. An auto mechanic, the car sits there, the car doesn't do anything, the mechanic fixes everything. Language learning is not like that at all. Language learning is more like going to the gym, getting a personal trainer, or maybe in my case, watching a video of a personal trainer and following along, but doing the work yourself to build your own muscles. That's what it really is. So I think step 1 is to set your goals. Step 2 is to know what the issues are that are preventing you from getting there. Step 3 is to start acting, start doing something immediately, and don't over-prepare. Those are my main suggestions. That's how you really need to get started with your spoken English practice. And asking questions and thinking about this stuff. That's why I encourage people to come up with questions during the live streams. That means you're thinking about the issues that you have and what you're struggling against, and you put it into a simple question. You write it down and you put it out there for everyone to see. It might show up on the screen. It might have a typo in it. That kind of pressure is good. That's good. You want that. So hopefully that helps and that makes sense. If you haven't already, guys, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button if it's not a like button, or maybe it's both. I don't know. Make sure you also follow, subscribe, and check out my courses in the links in the description. Dogs barking outside. Stop barking, dogs. I want to do story time. I think the live stuff is going a lot smoother now. When I first started it, it was kind of messy, and I was kind of confused, and I was a bit lost. But now I'm getting the hang of the software that I'm using, and it's definitely a lot better. So that's good news. That's good news. The only thing I'm still kind of frustrated about is that when I actually go live immediately, it will not let me upload a cover before I stream. So you guys see just me, but I like to put a cover photo up, right? I can't do that. I have to figure out how to do that. I have to put it up after the stream starts, right? Anyway, whatever. So someone was asking about the WhatsApp group. Whoever is in the chat who's in the WhatsApp group, I don't know if you guys wouldn't mind popping that in. I don't have a way to do that right now. Okay. I will get back to one more question, but I do want to talk about something else first, if you don't mind. Story time. Story time. We did a story time last time about being in India, and I want to tell another story. This story is called My 2 Car Crashes. So, I have been in 2 car accidents. One more serious than another. Well, it depends on how you consider something to be serious. What is serious? And I'll let you decide. And I want to tell you about my 2 car accidents. Now, I have not driven a car in about 10 years. Well, I've driven a car, but I haven't owned a car and regularly driven a car in about 10 years. But between the ages of 16 and 20, I had a car, I drove all the time, and in that time period, I got in 2 car accidents. And each one has a story attached to it that I think is pretty interesting, and I'd like to tell you about both of my car accidents. Now, by the way, the reason that I don't drive now is not because I was in 2 car accidents. Maybe it is, unconsciously. Who knows? Maybe I don't understand myself. That's a possibility. But I think it's not. I think it's because I live in a big city where having a car is actually an inconvenience. So, when I was 16, I had a car to drive right away. Actually, it was a truck. Because, now 16 in America is the age when you get your driver's license. You can, okay? So, I had a car ready, a truck ready for me, because it had been given to me by my brother. Now, let me quickly explain that. People think, oh, you have a car right away. Wow, you must have had money to buy one. No. I had some money, and my brother, this was when I was maybe 14, my brother wanted to make a movie. He was always making movies, and his movies were always very expensive for some reason. And he said, hey, can I borrow? I think I had $1,000 or $2,000 maybe. I don't remember exactly. He borrowed it from me, and I said, yes, okay, I will let you borrow this money, but first you have to sign a contract. I've always been tough with that kind of stuff. And in the contract it said, if you miss one payment, you have to give me your car. No questions asked. That's a pretty tough rule, right? And he signed the contract, I think, assuming, He'll never really do it. He's my brother. But he missed a payment, and I took his truck. He's 2 years older than me. He had been driving for a while. And when he came to my parents and said, "Hey, Luke's saying I have to give him my truck. This is crazy." And I said, "Look, here's the contract." He signed it. Look at it. And they said, "Yeah, Gabe, you shouldn't have signed that contract. You signed it." So I got a free car. So when I was 16, I had a truck to drive, and I drove it everywhere. I was always driving around. I loved to drive. I still love to drive, I think. Maybe I don't. I haven't really done it that much recently. But one time, I was driving home from somewhere, I don't remember, and I was approaching a stoplight, an intersection. And this was not actually in my hometown. This was in a city that was next to, about 10 miles away from my hometown. And I was approaching a stoplight, and there was a gas station at the intersection. So on the left side, as you were coming up to the stoplight, there's a gas station. This is a very common thing to have a gas station at an intersection, right? So the gas station is on my left. Across the other lane, there's an opposite lane. I'm approaching the stoplight. I'm going to stop at the stoplight because it's red, and then I'm going to go straight. That's my plan. So as I was approaching the stoplight, slowing down, I saw a shape getting larger suddenly beside me. And so I remember this as clearly as if it were happening right now. I was listening to a song by Elton John called Tiny Dancer. Okay? Tiny Dancer is a very famous song by Elton John. And as I looked over, this shape I realized was a car. And in the car, two faces, I remember both faces clearly, that I recognized. In fact, two of my high school classmates who were in a class 2 years older than me. They had already graduated high school. I was still in school. And I remember seeing both of their faces get closer to me. The driver of the car had pulled out, crossed the opposite lane, and was trying to get into my lane to go through the same intersection, probably to go to the town that we both lived in, right? This is someone from my hometown. We were in a different town. We were both there. So I thought that was weird. And I was thinking this as it was happening. Oh, that's weird that he's in this town and not in the other town. What a strange coincidence to see him here. This is as he's moving toward me, as I can see obviously that he's going to hit me. I knew that he was going to hit me because he hadn't checked clearly. He was pulling out too quickly. He was moving too fast. And he was starting to turn left, and I knew it was going to happen. But there was nothing I could do. Couldn't get out of the way. It was happening too fast. So he hit me right on my driver's side door, and it seriously dented the door. The whole side of the car came in. I was shifted to the right, but I wasn't shifted to the right in a violent, it didn't feel like a violent way. It didn't feel like I'm being injured. I'm being hurt. I realized later that I was being hurt. I hurt my neck and I hurt my back a little bit. It wasn't serious. But as it was happening, I thought, "Oh, this isn't so bad. This isn't so serious." as I was sliding over, my truck then, because he hit me so hard, started to spin. And so my truck spun into the intersection. Now, this could have been dangerous because if other cars had been coming, then they might have hit me, and that could have been even more serious. So I just remember this very distinct impression of first these two faces that I know coming toward me, and then the truck, I'm spinning around. At the same time, Elton John is singing Tiny Dancer, and I'm just spinning in the intersection out of control. and then I slowly came to a stop, and that moment is frozen in my memory now forever. So we both got out of the car, and the driver came up to me. He was a high school classmate who had been very mean to me at certain times in high school. You could say a bully at times. And Call me immature, if you like. Maybe I am. Maybe I was. I don't know. But I never really forgave him for being a bully to me, right? And he came up to me and said, "Oh, my God, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay." "Oh, I think I'm okay." Oh, yeah, maybe I'm not. I don't know. He said, "I'm so sorry. It was an accident." Obviously, it was an accident, but it was obviously his fault. He wasn't trying to say it was my fault. So obviously his fault. I was barely moving, right? He was coming at me. So everybody knew it was his fault. He said, "Yeah, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you. I didn't see your car there. Just please, let's take care of this right now and not call the police." And I said, "Why?" "Because you're supposed to, if you have a car accident, call the police. The police are supposed to come, make a police report, and then you take care of the insurance and all that stuff. And if you don't have the police report, you can't do the insurance, right?" So he was very upset. He was almost crying. And he said, "Please, because I was in a car accident. I had another accident and a couple of tickets in the past. If we call the police, I could lose my license. I'm probably going to lose my license if I have another accident." Now, the first thing that was going on in my mind here was, oh, I remember this guy used to bully me. Why would I do something nice for this guy? He said, "Please, I promise you, I will take care of this. I will pay you back for it. I promise 100%. Just please don't call the police." Now, my first thought was, and I guess I was kind of a responsible teenager, if I do this, now the burden is on me. For me being hit, now I bear the burden of trying to call this guy and getting him to pay me back for the damage to my car. The next few months of my life are going to be miserable because I did a nice thing for this person who just hit me with his car, who was a bully to me in high school. So I thought the pragmatic thing to do would be to not do that. So I said, "I'm sorry. No, we're going to call the police. They're going to come." And that's what we did. So we called the police. The police came. They did a police report. He was crying. He was still very upset. The other guy, his friend, was in the car. I don't know if he was crying, but he was very upset. And then it was okay. After that, the insurance stuff was very easy to do. I got enough money to buy a new car, not a brand new car, but I mean a new secondhand car. And it was very easy to take care of, to do the insurance claims. His insurance paid for the car because that's how it works. It's called collision insurance. The driver who's to blame is the one who pays. He doesn't have to pay, but his insurance paid. And I got money for a new car, and that was it. Everything was fine. It was very easy. So my takeaway from that was never forgive anyone. No, my takeaway from that is you have to let processes actually work, right? In a moment of uncertainty and emotional trauma, it's easy to just let things slide. But you have to know what consequences those things are going to have in 6 months, 3 months. And I definitely was glad that I had called the police because that is what allowed me to contact the insurance company and so on. So that was my first car accident. Very clear. My second car accident. All right. So my second car accident was with a girlfriend, and it was in her car, and I was driving. So there was this girl I really liked in high school, and we didn't actually date in high school. But then after high school, when I was in university, we did. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but we did. And we went to different universities. I went to one about 3 hours away, and I think it was maybe a month or two after we had started dating, she came to visit me at my university where I was going to school. And we decided to drive to a place about 2 hours away for some reason. I don't remember why, just to go hang out in another city. And so we did that. And it was in her car. Should we take your car or my car? I think we just took her car because it was better for driving long distances, maybe. I don't remember exactly. So I was driving her car, and it was starting to get quite cold. Now, one thing that happens when it's cold is that sometimes on the roads you get what's called black ice. Now, black ice is ice you can't really see. It looks like it's blacktop. It looks like it's the road, but it's not the road. It's a thin layer of ice that you can't see. It's not white, right? So it's quite dangerous. So we visited that shopping center. I don't really remember much of what happened. We were on the way back. I don't really remember much of what happened on the way back. And I was driving for some reason, and I changed from one lane. There was a big truck, a semi-truck, driving on one lane. And I was on the faster lane, in the left lane, passing the truck. And then it was time to come back to the same lane as the truck, ahead of the truck. But what I didn't realize was that there was a patch of black ice that I couldn't see. So when I went from the left lane to the right lane, the wheels couldn't grab anything. And so we just suddenly started spinning off the side of the road. Now, luckily, we were spinning and didn't flip over. I don't know how we didn't flip over, but we landed in the grass beside the road. We didn't flip over. The semi-truck we had just passed barely missed us. That could have been a really, really terrible disaster. That could have been really bad. The truck, the huge truck that was behind us that I had just went in front of, went right past us by maybe this much, very close. So that was quite scary. And the truck stopped, and he got out and he asked us if we were okay. And we said we were. The car was still drivable. I think there was a problem with one of the wheels. It was making kind of a weird sound. And I was sort of frozen. The first car accident, I felt fine. Everything was fine. This car accident, I felt extremely nervous, really scared, really on edge, like I didn't know how to drive anymore. And so we were able to drive, and I got back on the road, but I was constantly worried about black ice, and my hands were shaking, and I was nervous. My voice was shaking. I was trying to be calm, be natural, but I really was not. And it was a weird drive back. I think it was about a 40-minute drive back, and it was very weird and surreal for several reasons. Number one, somehow, for some reason, I realized I don't want to date this girl anymore. I realized it almost as soon as we had stopped after spinning around. I don't want to date this girl anymore. I realized it. This had been someone that I had a crush on for several years, and then suddenly I realized this is not the person I want to be with. Very weird. And it was a sudden realization. And then everything was covered in white. There was a layer of white over everything. Wherever we were coming into, the area we were coming into had light snow, and it was untouched. Right? You know how after it snows, there's a thin layer, and everything is kind of untouched, and it looks kind of magical. So I'm driving this car, suddenly realizing the condition of my feelings in this relationship as we drive along, surrounded in this blanket of white, thin, very thin white, right? Shivering, shaking from nervousness because I'm worried that I don't know how to drive anymore because I just spun out and almost been killed by a semi-truck. And it was very surreal. It was like driving through a dream. And I thought this, as I was doing it, I was thinking, this is not real. This is a dream. How is this happening? Something had happened in my mind that made life somehow different. It was a very weird experience. It was like a switch. And as though the world were responding to my new emotional outlook on life. Maybe it's because I had almost died. I don't know. As though the world were responding to that. About halfway home, about halfway back to my university dormitory, we looked over, and among the vast whiteness, right in the middle of the vast white snow, was a huge, very nice house, and it was burning. And there was nobody around. There were no fire trucks. There were no people outside looking at the house. Their house that was burning down. It was like a cartoon fire. It was very strange. It was like a dream. This house was just burning down. A very, very nice, huge house in a big yard, surrounded with a big yard and a lot of snow around it. It was just burning to the ground. And no one was around trying to put out the fire. And no one was outside. And I have no idea what happened. It was very weird. And it was sort of like that thing just confirmed that, yeah, you are this is a different place now. You have moved into a new mental space. And I think I've been there ever since. And the house burning down was sort of the confirmation. Yep, the switch has been flipped. Welcome to this new version of yourself. It was really weird. That's the only time that I've ever had anything like that happen. And we got back, and I think we broke up shortly after that. And then I think after that, I don't really remember what happened in my life after that, but that was it sort of seemed like a very important moment for me. And I'm not sure if it's because I felt that I was close to death or if something else had happened. I'm not sure. I still don't completely understand it, but it was like a switch got flipped. Very weird. So the first one was kind of a fun story, and the second one, not a serious accident, no real serious damage to the car, I think, but definitely more of an emotional change. So those are my 2 car accidents. I know that I've gone on and on, but I think they're pretty interesting stories. And if you have similar stories, interesting stories of what's called synchronicity, the burning house after this strange mental change, this is called synchronicity. If you have any stories like this you'd like to hear or you'd like to share, if you have any stories like this you'd like to share, please let me know in the comments. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, and also check out my links, my courses in the links in the description. All right. Long stories, I realize. My apologies, guys. I know it's a bit long, but I don't know. What do you think? Just as I remember them. Pretty weird. Okay, let's see if I missed anything. I'm just scrolling through the questions to see if I missed. I think I can answer one more question. Doesn't matter, doesn't mind. Don't care. Oh, Lolly Lolly has a good question. Let's answer Lolly Lolly's question. Let's answer Lolly Lolly's question. Okay. If you guys are sending more comments, I'm not able to see them. I don't know if there just are no more or if I am just not seeing them and something has happened to my comments. One or the other. Someone leave a comment just to let me know you're still here. Oh, people are leaving comments. Oh, so I guess my comment bar is broken. How sad. Okay. All right, so I'm going to answer Lolly Lolly's question, and then I think we're going to call it a day. So Lolly Lolly says, doesn't matter, doesn't mind, and I don't care. Same meaning? Thanks. Good question. So if someone says it doesn't matter, if someone says I don't mind, in fact, instead of doesn't mind, we should probably say I don't mind. She doesn't mind. There are some differences in usage, and there are some differences in the meaning. So let's focus on doesn't. We can never put I in front of doesn't. We can't say I doesn't matter. I don't matter. If we say I don't matter, it means something completely different, right? When we talk about things that happen, we use it, right? So if someone says, oh, it's okay, it doesn't matter. Someone was late for something. You were late. You're supposed to be here at 4:30. You're not here. You're late. And the other person says, yeah, I'm so sorry. We might say, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There, we might say, it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. Okay? Now, I don't matter. She doesn't matter. We're talking about then the person not being important. So this is kind of unrelated to these. Okay, so let's keep that one separate. It doesn't matter is about the situation. It's not important. Don't worry about it. It's no big deal. It's like that. Okay. Now, how about doesn't mind? I don't mind. That would be my condition, my state when I say it doesn't matter. So if I say it doesn't matter and you go, really? You really don't mind? You really don't mind? No, it doesn't matter. I don't mind. So they're very similar, right? But we will use I don't mind. He doesn't mind. Mind means care, right? Care. Usually this is when something inconvenient happens and we are letting the other person know that the inconvenient thing that has happened is not a big deal. So in this case, they are very similar. I don't mind. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're late. I don't mind if you're late. Kind of the same thing. But when we're talking about whether something is generally important or not, we probably won't use I don't mind. We'll probably just use it doesn't matter. What color should we choose? Pink or blue? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Now there we could use I don't care. But that's different than it doesn't matter a little bit, because if we say I don't care, then that's focusing on my emotion about that thing. It doesn't matter may focus more on the fact that whether you choose pink or blue will have no consequence one way or the other. The consequences of choosing blue or pink won't be different, right? I don't care focuses on my emotional state. It doesn't matter often focuses on the outside world. What will happen in the world? If this, if that. Okay, so they are a little bit different in focus, although we could use them in the same situation. What color? I don't care. What color? It doesn't matter. One is focused on me, one is focused on the results, the consequences. Now, it could be about me, but generally speaking, the focus of it, the connotation is on the consequence, the results, the thing that's going on. Now, don't mind. Would we say I don't mind? Should we use blue or pink? I don't mind. No, we cannot use I don't mind here. Cannot. Again, we use I don't mind usually when something has inconvenienced us. The thing is already there. It's already true. The event has already occurred. The condition is already present, right? So for example, the delivery is going to be 30 minutes late. That's okay. I don't mind. I don't mind. That means, okay, I accept that condition. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, I'm sorry I was an hour late. It's okay. I don't mind. It doesn't matter. I don't mind. Okay, so there it's focusing on the situation is there. It's real. It's true. And I'm saying my emotional condition, it's fine with me. It doesn't upset me. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not true. I could be lying, right? But when I say I don't mind, I'm trying to express that, right? Now, what about when there is a relationship between two people and there's a trait or a characteristic? For example, I don't mind when you cook meat, let's go back. Vegetarian and a meat eater live in the same house, okay? The vegetarian says to the meat eater, I don't mind when you cook meat in the house, but please make sure that you clean up very well. Right? Because if a vegetarian lives with a meat eater and then there's a bunch of meat and oil all over the counter and on the dishes and there are pieces of meat and fat everywhere, this might upset the vegetarian. Okay? So I don't mind if you eat meat, but I do mind if you leave a mess, an oily mess in the kitchen. I do mind means I don't like this situation. I don't mind means it's fine. It's okay. So you can say, I don't mind one thing, but I do mind another. It doesn't matter if you cook meat in the house. It's fine. I don't mind if you cook meat in the house. It's okay. But please, please make sure you clean up. Make sure everything is very clean after you're done cooking. Okay, all right, I can do that. Promise. Promise? Yes, I promise. So that's generally how we use these. And again, I don't care. Focuses on, it doesn't matter to me. I feel that it's not important. Sometimes we use it in the sense of the colors, right? If it's this or that, it doesn't matter to me. I don't care. Or in a more negative sense, someone is asking for help and we say, I don't care. Meaning we don't care about their concerns or their issues or their problems. And that might be used in a more negative way. The governor doesn't care about the people. No, he doesn't care. Oh, so sad, right? You don't care about their needs. That's a different I don't care. So that's generally how we use these three. It's a good question, Lolly Lolly. Thank you for asking. If you guys have any other questions, please leave them in the comments. If you haven't already, make sure you click the like button. Make sure you subscribe or follow. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out my full courses in the links in the description. Okay. Lolly Lolly, I hope that answers your question. Eddie says, what did you tell your parents about the accident? I think my parents knew about the first accident, but I don't think I ever told them about the second one. No need to worry them excessively. It works like medicine. If you take it, you get better. Okay. It's too bad my comments broke. I have to figure out what is happening there. There was a while there where I wasn't seeing anybody's comments. Lolly Lolly says, thank you, Luke, for the great explanation. You're welcome. All right. Guys, I think we're going to call it a day. For now, I'm a little hungry. I haven't eaten anything yet today. So if I missed your question, I apologize. I do try to get to all the questions, but it's not always possible. Sometimes there are too many for the time that we have. So if I didn't answer your question, make sure you come back next time. I will try my best to answer your question. And hopefully you guys will make sure you subscribe so that you can see when the next live stream is up. I'll be trying to always start around the same time, which is around between 1 and 2 p.m. If I can. And again, thanks for all the great questions. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for everything. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys next time.